Good afternoon, everyone. How is everybody? Can you all hear me okay? Oh, look at you all. You're all here. A few of you are here super early. Oh, Beverly, you was here super early. You got yourself all sorted, have you? Hopefully you can craft along with me. Okay, I'll just check that you can all hear me. Loud and clear. Oh, brilliant. Thank you. That's always a relief to know. Okie dokie. Right. Oh, hi, Mum. How's you? Yes, it's all working. That's good. Everyone can see me. Who have we got? We've got Evelyn, and Sue. Hello. Hi, Connie. Hi, Marion. Beverly. Beverly's all raring to go. Hi, Jane. And Karen. Lovely to have you here. That's great. And who else? We've got Kathy. Oh, hello, Helen. How's you? Oh, I should have got a drink actually before I sat down. Never mind. And Hazel as well. Okay, I'm sure a few people will join as we go along. I'll try and look up and see where we are with that. You know what I'm like. I get so engrossed in what I'm doing, and the hour flies by. Oh, hi Rebecca. Lovely to have you. Oh, I'm on the big telly. Oh Lord, shouldn't have told me that. Yeah, sometimes when I think I get the lives prepped for it, I think, oh, this won't be so long today. You know, it'll be quite a quick one. I'll be quite efficient. But I always go to an hour, don't I? Regardless. Anyway, what I thought I'd do for you today, and I think I probably mentioned it at the end of my live last week, that I was going to introduce you, or maybe introduce to some of you. Many of you may already be totally familiar with this technique of paper piecing. So I've chosen to use the EDGECUTZ dies because these are perfect dies to show you this technique with. Lisa, throughout her time since launch 4 years ago, has released various different designs as part of the EDGECUTZ system, I suppose. The ones that we have at the moment are the Garden Cosmos and the bold florals. Oh, there we are. Got a bit of a glare on there for you. So today I'm using the Garden Cosmos because that, for me, demonstrating to you, I'm not having to be not being here all afternoon, is probably the simplest one for me to paper piece with you. But any die that gives you a lined image is eligible to use in your paper piecing. Now, what I mean by that is when you can see from the design here that all the white areas actually gives us the lined detail. So basically like a pencil drawing, which gives us then the coloured parts, the open areas to colour in. Now, when we're using dies, obviously we don't colour in with pens or pencils. We use cardstock, coloured paper. So that is what we then term as paper piecing. So it's the reintroduction of the solid parts of the design back into the lined die cut. That is the paper piecing. So it's a lot easier to show you when actually in person. So this is the card that I was going to make today. As I say, I've used the Garden Cosmos, the same technique. Oh, that sounds really bright today, isn't it? The same technique can easily be applied to the bold florals, which again is one of the current EDGECUTZ designs. But if you think about perhaps past designs, and I'll just bring a few in at the moment, we've had in the past the floral posy, where again we have the the die outline, we have had designs like this, where again, we're left with the outline, which is basically the line drawing of the die. It's really delicate, but what you can then do is replace these larger areas with coloured card. We have our cover plates. You can do the same with those. We've had the designs like this with the tatty blooms. So anything where you have the solid part of the design that comes away completely, you can replace and use the paper piecing. And also these as well, the tatty stems, because we're left with a really nice, fine, delicate sort of line drawing, as it were, as a die cut, but you can replace that and start filling in those designs. So anybody new to paper piecing, hopefully that sort of explained what it is for you. Not to be confused with paper piercing, which I'll try and be quite conscious in how I say that, because when you say it quickly, you can be confused between the two. Paper piercing is obviously when you're using the vellum and you're using the tools. It's like the pergaminer, and you poke the holes in the vellum and you create white work, and it's a completely different craft. This is paper piecing. So you can see from the design here, I've used the die to die cut my piece, and I've reintroduced the flowers, or the internal of the flowers and the leaves, basically coloured them in with another set of cardstock. So you get a really, really nice effect from that. So what I want to do for you, actually before I just go on, I just wanted to remind you of Lisa's pick. I don't know, it should come up in an email, because I get my emails straight from the website on a Monday morning, and this comes up with you. So if you don't get those emails, or if you've overlooked them, or if they're somewhere else in your email folder, what we have on for Lisa's pick this week is the celebration bundle. So it's those fabulous balloons and the fabulous happy birthday stencil and 3D embossing folder. Basically it's a complete happy birthday card making kit all in one. So I haven't got mine yet. Mine's winging its way to me. It takes a little while over to me in Ireland, unfortunately. So I do have to be patient. So that's a really good value for you. I think you're saving $8.99 from what I can see. So you'll get basically 4 items. You get the stencils and the embossing folder, and if there is actually I don't think there is a die involved with these ones, for $44.97, so just under £45. So I've reminded you of that. So what I'm going to do is just take that away. I'm just going to bring up the slide of everything I've used today. So there's no Ultimate used today, no ink, no stencils, so completely different for me today. So this is everything that I've used. So this is the Garden Cosmos. I'll just remind you also that the bold florals and the sentiment stamp that I'm going to use on the other card, I haven't used it on this one, are the scripted sentiments. So really straightforward set of supplies today. So what I wanted to show you, let me just leave that one there. I might have to, you bear with me, I might just lower my blind a little bit. As much as I love the sun, I think it plays havoc with the camera, doesn't it? It doesn't make it too dark. And it's typical, it just came out just as 2 o'clock came. Okay. Let me see. Let me see. What can I block that light with? It's really glaring, actually. I don't want to put the blind down too much, because that's really washed out the colour, isn't it? Oh, dearie me, that sun. Might sort itself out. because I don't know about you, but I can barely see what I've got on the screen there. You certainly can't see the colours. Okay, there we are. Hopefully that's a bit better for you. I don't want to curse the sun because we don't see it all that often, do we? Okay, hopefully that's not too bad. Okay, that's a little bit better. So in using the edge cuts for you today, for one, it's nice to revisit, and I think we mention this a lot when we do our lives. It's nice to revisit things that you've had sitting there for a little while, but also along the way, hopefully I can just give you a couple of different ideas on how to use this as well. Right, let me get started. So for the card I'm making today, I've used the die twice. So I die cut it once on this side, and then I turned it round and I was able to die cut it on this side. So I'm using a square card which measures, it's just shy of a 6-inch square card, which works out at 15 centimetres square. So I've cut myself 2 pieces of coloured cardstock. In this case, it was pink. And in the card I'm making today, I'm going to be using the lilac. So I've cut 2 pieces of the lilac in 15 by 15 centimetres. So that's all sorts going on behind me. And then I've basically taken one of these squares and I've die cut this die twice. Now this is the other reason why I've used this die, because I was able to fit this twice onto a piece, onto my small square card. If you wanted to use the other die, what you perhaps need to do is use a slightly larger piece, square piece, and make it onto a larger card, an 8x8 card. Or alternatively, you don't have to die cut it once, you can just die cut it. So you don't have to die cut it twice, you can die cut it once and do the paper piece in that way. So I'll show you how I die cut this twice in. So that's going to be my base. I've got myself another piece of card here. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure that these tab edges, which is what die cuts the edge of the card away from the main part of the card, and you'll see this in a second once I take it out of the die cutting machine. These are going to overlap the edge of the card. That is absolutely fine. Now what you want to make sure that you do is get this the right way round. So if you look on the back of the die, you will see that almost on this side there is a double line going. So where these tabs happen, you'll see a part of the die. Let me pull that down a little bit. That's not going to refocus. That's not going to refocus. Oh, I am having technical issues today. Bear with me 2 ticks. I'm going to go black. There we are, it should be back again. And what that does, that just refocuses that for me. Okie dokie. Okay, so when you look at this die, you'll see the tab on either side, and then you'll see the part of the die, the line that would cut, goes off this way, and you want this edge of the die to be on the outer edge of your square piece of cardstock. So I'm going to position that on this half of the card. Now what I'm going to do before I do that, I'm just going to make myself aware of where the centre of this card is. Now I do apologise, I think I said you want this to be cut at 15 centimetres. You actually want this piece of cardstock and the one that sits on the front there at 14 centimetres square. And the card blank is 15 centimetres and you want this to be 14. So you want to be aware of where the centre of this cardstock is. So I've just made 2 marks there. And I'm going to position this die as centrally as I can on this half of my cardstock. I'm just going to tape that into place. Let me just move it out of the way. So I'm going to bring my die cut in now so you can see this happen as we go. So I'll just take that through the die cutting machine. I'm going to take that away. You'll see, as always, we've got a nice fabulous cut that's gone through there. Now what we want to do is, we have the die this way, so we want to swing the die around. And we want to reposition that on the other side of this cardstock. Now I'm just going to move that slightly because that was hanging over the edge. So what I would normally say is keep all of these pieces, but I'll come back and revisit that in a second. What I want to do is just show you how this layer is cut first. So now I can reposition this die on the other half of the cardstock. Try and make sure that what you cut already isn't being overlapped by your die here. And what you'll find is that some of these gaps are filled in quite nicely. So that was another reason why I thought this die worked really well. It lined up really nicely next to each other. So when I run this through the machine again, back there. So we take that away. When we remove that, do it gently because we don't want to ruin any of those delicate areas, and we just take away all the excess parts. Now I'm demoing this, so I've got various other bits already prepared, but what I would say to you, if you were doing this at home, you wouldn't need to have so much prepared along the side of you, but you would keep all of these internal bits for your paper piecing, because obviously this is what's going to go back into your design. So let me just get rid of all of that. Oh, excuse the noise there. Okay, so there we are. We have our layer ready for paper piecing, all die cut, and it immediately makes this die look completely different. As I say, you can use it singly, and you can use it on the side of a card and shape that, and it would look beautiful. But you can also create a background layer with this, and I'll use this one now because that's a cleaner colour. I've taken all the pieces away from it. So you can layer this in itself and die cut it twice, and that will be perfect just to put onto the front of the card. Now you could just lay this onto a piece of cardstock exactly the same colour, and you've got a really delicate, lovely background, and that would look amazing just like that if you were to put just a sentiment across the middle, something simple, and that's really, really quick, easy card, really effective. You could, instead of putting that onto a self-coloured piece, you can then put it onto a piece of white. Again, you could then put the sentiment straight through the middle, and again you have another really pretty card. So you imagine doing this in all sorts of different colours. Again, the fact that I've cut it in purple now, I've cut it in pink there, it looks really different straight away. But what I want to do again is to introduce you to the paper piecing. So basically refilling this in and colouring this in again. So obviously we need to have a backing to this. So we do need to attach this to our piece of background card. Now I've chosen a self-coloured piece of card. You could use a different colour. Again, that's the choice, isn't it? I mean, that's sometimes it's the choice of colours and how we're going to sort of proceed that can take the time as opposed to the actual making of the card. Now I need to unclog my glue. There we are. I think that's right. There we go. Now I get on really well using Lisa's glue and Lisa's bottle here, even for delicate areas like this. I know you can get sort of more delicate tipped glue bottles that you may want to decant Lisa's glue into, or any glue, you know, use a glue that you're happy with. I get on really well with Lisa's glue on delicate things, even on this type of project. So I'm just going to put plenty of glue on there. I'm not going to worry too much if it comes through these apertures here, because obviously I'm going to be adding glue or some adhesive to that a little bit later on anyway. So I'm going to line up the edges, so I know I just really like that look with the sort of same colour in the background. And even like that, that would be a really nice layer just to add to your card, I think, couldn't it? Even just like that, it just looks really, really pretty. And you can't actually see, using the same colour, you can't actually see where the design stops or not. So it does actually give sort of almost a faux embossed look, don't you think? Right, what we need to do now is start filling these in. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can prep this, and it really depends on the intricacy of the design that you're filling into, the amount of time that you have, the supplies that you have available. So I'll try and show you different ways to do that, particularly if you are new to this or you haven't really known where to start. I mean, I appreciate there's going to be some of you that may do this. Now, this isn't necessarily either a quick project. It can be, and you don't have to fill in everything here. You might just want to pick out a couple of details, just a couple of flowers, and then you're done, and then you're off. So that's, you know, that's another idea for you as well. What I've gone on and done is chosen the colours that I wanted to use to fill in again. This one I chose, I had 4 different colours here. I'm going to keep it a little bit simpler on this one, and I'm going to use 2 colours for the flower, or for the flowers, and then I'm going to come in with my green afterwards. Now, these elements here, I've just taken the die and just straightforward cut the die onto a piece of cardstock. When I've then removed the die from the cutting plate, I've made sure that I've picked up everything that's come with it. Everything. I haven't picked up the leaves on this one because obviously I'm going to want to use the green leaves. So I've made sure that every piece of the flower has come from the cutting plate, and I've put it alongside, sort of repatched it into the framework so I know where everything is. Because what I will do now, I will just remove the outer areas, which will make it a lot easier for me to pick up these small details. Now, what you will need is to make sure you have your really fine tweezers and or a pokey tool with you. So again, you're going to want to use your tools that you're familiar with using and you're happy and comfortable using also. So I've just taken all the details out of the flower there, removed the die up to the top, and now because I've die cut this twice, I needed to die cut 2 lots of white flowers, so I have enough of the details to fill in. Now, obviously I've prepped this as I've gone along, so you don't watch me do too much die cutting, but you can die cut as you go along, because then you'll start seeing a little bit of progress. Now, the other thing you can do also is really use up your little scraps. It's great at scrap busting, this technique. I want to just fill in 1 flower on each side and make it yellow. But there was no need really for me to use a large piece of yellow cardstock and die cut everything if I'm not going to use all of that yellow. So what I've done, I've taken a little piece of card. I don't have any available. Let me just pick up a post-it note here. I didn't use a post-it. But what you can just take yourself a little piece of card and then you cherry pick the area of the design that you want to cut from this particular colour, and then cover that on the back and just run it through the die cutting machine. No, you won't be cutting the whole thing out and it'll come out looking a little bit abstract, but it's a great way to use your small scraps of card that I know that we all collect and we sort of can't bear to part with, but it's also means you're not wasting anything. So if you're using a really special piece of card or pearlescent card or metallic card, for example, you don't want to waste a larger piece and die cut a lot of areas that you're not actually going to be using in your design. So that's another really nice way to prepare the pieces to die cut. Again, think of it as a puzzle or colouring in. So what we really want to do is prepare the pieces so we can insert them back here. You can keep these. I mean, this would work really nicely as a little accent on your card as well. Say I'll keep these aside. You can possibly get a little bit out of control with the amount that you keep. And I know sometimes we could be a little bit enthusiastic. We think, oh, we'll have this project and we'll do that project, and then we have so many projects that we run out of time to actually do them all. So what I'm just doing now, actually, what you can see me doing, I'm just taking away this outside frame, which I don't need because I need the pieces on the inside. So I'm just using my tweezers and just poking them out gently, but I'm just making sure that they sit on that card underneath, on this craft card underneath, in some form of order as they came out of the die, because that's just going to make it a lot easier to transfer from there into there. So let's get going. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to make sure that I sit the area that I'm piecing in the same orientation as I have them sitting on the piece of card there, because that's going to make it easier for me to know where that's going to go straight away. So the first way of doing this, because I've just die cut these out, we obviously need some adhesive on here. So I find it quite straightforward, and you again use the glue that you're happy using. You can pick up the piece and apply a little bit of glue on the back. You don't need to go overboard, actually. And I always find it easier to put the glue onto the piece that you're actually inserting. That's not the piece I want to go. I knew something would go wrong. Let's start again. So I want to have that big flower in the yellow, so I'm going to start with these smaller ones. So this is where you can see that you need to pick up the pieces with your tweezers, and then you can pop them straight in, and they fit like a puzzle piece. And so long as you are sort of organised and you know where you're going, it's really quick to actually build up your design again. So you don't need to put too much on the back of the glue, because obviously you don't want it to be wet and sort of ooze out from underneath. You could put glue into here, and maybe on some of the smaller pieces that might be a way to do that, but I definitely think the way to go is to sort of put the glue on the back, and I'll do this pretty quick. I wanted to show you how quick this sort of can build up. Once you're quite organised in what you're doing, this is quite a quick process. I may not get all the leaves done, but there is another way in a second, using self-adhesive sheets that I can show you for this to apply. So it really does depend on what you've got to hand. It depends on how much you've got to paper piece, how much time you have. Again, this really isn't, or I think you you need to give yourself time and enjoy it, you know, enjoy the process. Sometimes you just want something just to sit down and shut your mind off from, sort of go off into your own little world, and you can see just how quick this builds up. We have all these little areas, and it's definitely worth the attention to detail to put these little pieces back in as well. So as small as this may seem, the fact that if you don't put it in, there will be something missing and your eye will naturally be drawn to it. So yeah, do take the time to fill in all those little extra details. Now on here, I've actually added little gems. Can you see? Oh yeah, there you go. On this one, I've added all the gems and all the little circle areas and onto the middle of the flowers as well. So yeah, you can have a real play. I'm not doing that on this one. But I have little areas in here. So that's a tiny little triangle. Again, it's worth adding. Or if you don't put these details in, then I'd say don't put the small details in across the board, because you don't want necessarily something to sort of stand out like a sore thumb. Now I'm going to put a tiny bit of glue on there because I just want the tiniest little piece of glue. And you can see the tiniest little speck that I'm putting in there. I'm going to add that into there. But that is going to make all the difference to the finished piece. Now what I might do, hopefully, I'm going to bring you in again. That's not liking that today, is it? Bear with me, I will go dark again. Yeah, because that just focuses. I don't know why the autofocus isn't working, but there we are. So what should we do? How are we doing for time? Let me put in this yellow now. So I might just finish off one half of this and finish off the other half in a little bit. So I'll just move that over to one side because it's easier to transfer. So again, what I'm going to do, I'm going to add the yellow now. You can see me working there. We can pop that in. There we go. It comes together really quick and it's actually really satisfying. It's a really nice. So it's really nice, satisfying craft, because obviously you've die cut them, so they go back into their spot. Really, really precisely. And it's something, it really does appeal to me. So all these tiny little pieces, can you see these tiny little pieces, which normally we would spend our lives hoovering up or sort of getting stuck on the bottom of our shoes or on our dogs, and they get moved all over the house, don't they? But it's definitely worth sort of keeping hold of them for this technique, because you can see here that flower isn't going to look finished until I put these little areas in here. Yeah, as small as they actually are, it makes all the difference. Now, this is a particularly delicate and detailed design to be using. There is definitely less detailed dies that you can use this with, and smaller ones too. So I was really quite ambitious showing you this on on camera today. So if you do attempt anything and it's a little bit less intricate, you don't have to worry about such small pieces. But I might as well give it a go. Hey, there we go. And there's one piece that needs to sit in there, and that's that one there. And you can see why now you really do need to make sure that when you take the die cutting from the cutting plate onto the area, that you keep everything sort of more or less in position, so you're not hunting round the place for really obscure little shapes. When they're in the position, a rough position on here to go to your design, it makes an awful lot more sense. Whereas if you was just looking for this tiny little piece in a whole mass of other little pieces, you'd be there for like forever and a day. So you can see now how that's really coming on. So I'm going to put that aside because I will finish that off later on, and I do need those pieces. But what I want to show you next is if you are, or if you do have available, another way to actually paper piece back in again is to use cardstock with an adhesive back. So basically I've taken some double-sided adhesive, and it comes in sheet form. You can buy it as A4 sheets from most craft shops, and Lisa has them in her shop as well. They're actually at a 6x2 sheet. And you can buy them as A4, and you line the back of any of your cardstock so you can turn this into a sticker effectively. And you do this before you die cut. So if I just take the backing off there, you can see that we have the adhesive on the back. Now what I'll show you, you get yourself a piece of cardstock. This is your self-adhesive sheet. So it has the carrier sheet on both sides, and there is actually your adhesive right in the centre of this. So what you need to do is you need to peel back just one of the areas, and I'll show you sort of a nice straightforward way so you don't get yourself in too much of a pickle applying this sheet. I'll actually do it on the craft so you can see what I'm doing. So that is now adhesive there, and I've just pulled back some of the carrier sheet here. I'm not going to pull it all off initially, and I want to back this piece. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to fold that so we have just a little bit of the adhesive here visible. I'm going to line this up, so edge to edge like so, and that is a manageable amount to adhere on there without too many bubbles. Okay, so make sure that that's pressed down. Now what I can do, you can see this, I can just bend up my piece of cardstock. It's not going anywhere because we've got this attached here. I can take this piece, which is now a tab that I folded back earlier, and I can just pull that away and allow the craft card to fall onto my adhesive. Okay, like that. And then I can take my scissors, my trusted large scissors, and I can just trim right along the edge. Now this piece of self-adhesive is still all completely intact, ready to be put back in and used on another project. And this, obviously, this carrier sheet now is not needed, so now we can remove that. And we've backed this piece of craft card. The adhesive is laid on smooth, there's no bubbles, and that's ready to have that peeled off, and you've got the adhesive. It's really hard to show you, but it's sticky on the back there. Okay, so that's ready to all go, and that can be die cut. Now that's exactly what I've done with these green pieces of cardstock. And what you can do is now this looks very odd the way I've die cut this here, but again, going back to this sort of scrap busting idea with this, I only want to die cut the greenery on this die. So you can use your packaging as reference and just put the part of the die that's green onto your cardstock and run that through the die cutting machine. Now we have greenery on both ends, so there's no need really for me to die cut this central section with the flowers. So I would die cut this section first, and then I would take this section, which is again green, and do it on this side, and that's exactly what I've done here. Now obviously I need to do that twice because I've got the two designs on either side. But what this has effectively done, because we do have this as a sticker, this actually keeps all the die cutting a little bit more intact. So if you do have the adhesive sheets and you do want to do the rest of this paper piecing from pieces like this, it might, you can back these pieces with the self-adhesive, and then you've got the stickers to add back in. But I wanted to show you the two different ways because not everybody has the backing. So what I need to do now is, again, very much the same as what I have done here, is transfer the leaves, the sections of these leaves, back into my design. So obviously I need to make sure that I'm working on the right part of the design. So this area here could correspond to this part of the design. But what I'm doing now, and again, this is where your tweezers really do come into play, I can just take off this piece of the design. It leaves the backing of the sticker actually in the die cut, and this piece here is adhesive. So now it actually makes it even easier to piece those pieces together, and we can move really quick and fill in that design. And I thought it's important to show you both ways. You don't necessarily need adhesive sheets to do paper piecing. You can absolutely do it with glue, and if that's all that you have to hand, then it's not something, you know, it's still a project you can do. But obviously, if you think about it, you've got no glue to worry about spilling out over the edges when you're using adhesive sheets. You're basically creating a sticker, so you can pop that straight into your design. Now I've taken these pieces out here and the backing has come away with it, so you do just need to make sure of that. But the backing is so easy to take away with your tweezers, and even me watching you. You know what it's like when you want to get the backing off sticky plastic or the red liner tape. Red liner tape is another one, isn't it? Oh, or foam pads is another one that is excruciating to do when you've got people watching you, and it just doesn't happen. But this actually is working quite nicely. So there we go. You can actually see now that this design builds up an awful lot quicker when you have the adhesive on the back. And as I say, with me watching, well, with you watching me sort of doing this, I was a little bit conscious that it could be quite laborious, but I won't make you watch me do the second one. I'll get as much as I can done with this, and then I'll show you how the card gets finished off and complete that for you later on. So I'm using my tweezers, and these really precision sharp tips are absolutely perfect for this. I'm using the ones with the angle on, but obviously Lisa has got the straight ones, or you use the tools that are easiest for you to use. And again, I'm really going into that detail because it's that finishing off detail which I think, and just adding the smallest of pieces, really does finish off the card really nicely. Now, as I say, I was quite bold really in choosing such an intricate design. Not all paper piecing is quite so fiddly, but it's a really nice project. So I've spun that around, and now I can use this design. So hopefully you're still with me. And I shall do this as quick as I can so you can see the full effect. Oh, no, the thing's come away with that. Now I do know Beverly is watching. I wonder how Beverly is doing. I'll sort of scroll through in a moment and see if she's able, or if she started the project as well. So it's quite a nice one to actually craft along with people, so you can really sort of switch off. Now these aren't coming away quite easy. There we are. I should be as quick as I can. I'm sure you're chatting amongst yourselves. Actually, what I will do, I will remind you, it's HSN Craft Day on today, Tuesday the 16th of April. Can you believe we're halfway through April already? And Lisa is actually featuring with Suzanne Runyon later on. It is 8 o'clock their time, so 8 o'clock Eastern time in Florida, I believe it is. and that works out to be 1 o'clock this morning, or 1 o'clock Wednesday morning, whichever way you want to look at that. So I think it will be available to watch on YouTube to catch up, and I'm sure at some stage it will be streamed, or the link will be available in this group. So if you wanted to catch up on that, then you'll be able to find that, or you may be up and you may want to join in and find that on YouTube to watch along with them. I don't know what's going on actually, to be honest, but if you're up and about, it'll definitely be worth watching anyway, for sure, won't it? So last piece to go in. You can see actually it doesn't take too long, does it, for this to come together. Last piece. There we go. Oh. Last piece doesn't want to come out. Doesn't want to play. There it is. There we are, and I should put that in as well. So you can see now I've added and basically coloured in one section, and I shall finish the other one off a little bit later on. So that's basically all paper pieced for you now, and that is how that's worked. And what that does actually, if I just turn that to the side, it gives you a really nice flat design again. This card here, I paper pieced, and then I put my central strip across the middle with a bit of ribbon and the design there, and I've added sort of the other embellishments with pearls and sort of gems in there, so you can really go to town or leave as plain as you want. But what I thought would be a nice idea this time round, if you still wanted to add a little bit of dimension to this, I have die cut myself another layer, exactly the same layer as I did that I added to the solid square background and that I'm paper piecing. You can add or die cut another piece, and then you can add this over the top. And what that will do, that will give you some added dimension. No, I won't lift that because my camera can't cope with that. And if you glue that on, you still have the benefit of the paper piecing, but you also have the benefit of this second layer on top, which will give you just that little bit more dimension. And depending on how you stick this, actually, I'll show you, it lifts it. It gives it just, yeah, I suppose a bit more of a 3D look. It changes the look completely. So what I do off camera now, I will finish paper piecing here, and then I'm going to add this separate layer on. And if I do a close-up of the two, you can see the difference, and it gives a completely different look. Because what then I can do, I can add my sentiment across the middle, which is just simply stamped with a bow added in the middle, and I can add that to a card blank like so. So there's two different ways to finish a paper pieced card. There's a couple of different ways to use your edge cuts. Now, as I say, you don't necessarily need to double cut your edge cuts. You can just use the one. That would work really nicely on its own, actually, and leave actually, you could even leave that like that and just have that top piece, the top part paper pieced, or if you turn that around, make sure the sentiment's up the right way, and you can have it paper pieced like that. That's entirely up to you. There's so many different ways, but there are also different ways to actually paper piece. You can just die cut your piece completely again and just use all the pieces from here and use glue to adhere them back in. You can use the scrap busting technique, so you can actually cherry pick the areas of your die to then put back into your design, or you can use your self-adhesive double-sided adhesive sheets on the back of your cardstock to create stickers and then transfer that in as well. So hopefully that's a really nice introduction into paper piecing for you. So I'm conscious that many of you will probably be aware of that, but we are having new viewers and new members join us all the time, and I've seen a few people in the group ask what paper piecing is. So there's a lot of people even just joining the hobby for the first time and crafting. So it's nice to have that sort of comprehensive video that they can refer back to on our YouTube channel. So I can leave that with you there today. I'm going to carry on and get that finished. Now, I am back with you again on Thursday. I had planned to reuse the edge cuts again, but use them in a completely different way. If that's okay with you, or if there's anything else that you might think you want me to cover, then do let me know. Ask in the group, put a request in, ask Lisa, and it will get back to me somehow, because we want to make sure that we are creating the videos that you want to watch as well. But say if I don't hear anything else, I'll be using the edge cuts again, possibly use the bold florals next time, and just show you how these can be used in a completely different way. So thanks so much for joining me this afternoon. I actually really enjoyed that. I really like those colours that have come together. So I'm going to get this finished now, and I shall pop this back into the group a little bit later on for you. So hopefully you've got on well as well, Beverly. You're still making. I'd love to see what you make at the end of it. I really would. So I shall go back and read all your comments now, actually, with a cup of tea. So thanks so much for joining me. I'd love to have your company, and I shall see you all again on Thursday. Take care.